Welcome, everyone, and a happy mid-year to you. Yes, this is GoalChat live on July 1st. If you are listening to this as the GoalChat podcast on the Marketing Podcast Network, it's probably a few days later, but it's still like it's the mid-year, which is the time where we relax, refresh, and then we move forward toward the second half with all sorts of goals and plans and dreams in mind. And we can do all that, but not until we celebrate all the awesome stuff we have done thus far. And so welcome to the GoalChat Happy Mid-Year Party. I'm really excited because I have, per usual, awesome people. We have Dorien Morin-van, we've got Joey Held, we've got Jamie Pachino, and these are not just guests but friends, so I'm also really excited to catch up with them and see what they're excited about from the last part or the first part of 2024. The second part, those who know me, so I'm Deborah Eckerling. I'm author of your goal guide and creator of the DEB method for goal setting simplified. I start the new year like 4 times a year. December, and then January when the regular people start the year, and then the summer, and then the fall. But really, even though that's how my kind of messed up seasons, every day, every week, every month is an opportunity to rethink your goals and reboot and move forward with joy and vibrance to create that life you want. And you can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. So every week I bring together 3 of my people for GoalChat or GoalChat Live. And so whether you're watching us live, the replay, or listening to us, we're so glad you're here and celebrating the mid-year. Woohoo! Okay, I need to work on my woohoo enthusiasm. Anyway, I would love for you all to introduce yourselves. So let us start with you, Joey. Who are you?
Oh, so much pressure. Hello, I'm Joey Held. I'm a writer, an author, and a podcaster. Even though we were talking beforehand, one of my podcasts is no more, but you can still listen to it. Good people, cool things. And like this very show, bringing good people on. We're bringing cool people. They're talking about what they're doing in life. I've met so many bizarre career paths through it, and I think it's just it was a very fun project to do for 4 years. I called it my COVID baby because it happened February 2020. Remember that? Remember those times? It was great. Great.
Well, I did have a book that came out January 2020. So yes, I am very familiar. That 6 weeks before the world had changed by circumstance, out came my book designed to help people embrace change by choice or circumstance. And this podcast, also a COVID baby, because how else do you hang out with people during the pandemic? You create a show so you can have them on and catch up and celebrate all of their wins, which we will do today. And we will, I'm tempted to say, why did you sunset one of your podcast babies? Well, I asked you, why did you sunset one of your podcast babies?
Well, I've been doing it for 4 years, like I was saying, and I got to 200 episodes, and I was planning ahead when I was maybe at like 185, and just thought this seems like a good time to wrap things up. I have a lot of other projects, as I believe I talked about last time. There's always a side hustle or two going on. There's lots of different things, and I certainly am not done podcasting, but I think I might shift a little bit of what the future podcast hold. Perhaps a narrative fiction type of one, which I've never done, which I think would be fun and a good way to maybe transfer some of the fiction writing that I've done over the years into podcast form. And I just hear all these fun podcasts where it's just like a group of friends having some sort of like loose script to follow. Like I'd like to say like Curb Your Enthusiasm, but way less yelling and cussing. But the same sort of vibe of like, that's just a lot of friends hanging out and putting a show together. And I think that would be a fun thing to do. So one of the goals for this year.
Awesome. See, I again, jumping ahead, but when you put the pin in one thing, it does give you room to explore other things. So kudos and yay. Dorien, great to see you.
Yeah, same.
Who are you? I mean, I know, but there may be some people who don't.
Sure. I'm Dorien Morin-van. I'm a social media strategist. I currently live in Vermont, born and raised in the Netherlands, so Dutch by birth, American by choice. And I have a bunch of fun clients, and I get to set my working hours as I want. I still have a couple kids at home and dogs and vegetable garden, like all kinds of fun things. And I'm a runner, and so lots of things that I do that require goals to get them all done.
Fantastic, and really excited to have you here. And it has been a while. And let's be honest, you're here because I haven't seen you in forever and it was time to catch up. So thank you for coming on and
Sure.
celebrating the mid-year, and also giving us this opportunity to learn all of the cool and exciting things that you've got going on. So welcome.
Thank you.
Jamie, great to see you.
It's good to see you too.
Who are you and why are you here?
Well, I'm here because of you, because you asked so nicely. I am a writer, a playwright, screenwriter, television writer, and I'm currently working on a show that I can't talk about. I just started, but it's a fantastic opportunity. I'm an executive producer on a TV show that's going to go to Hulu in 2025. But before that, I've worked on all the streamers, all the networks. And I'm also really happy to say that I just had a screenplay optioned. So that is super exciting. And I have two kids, one who just moved to New York City and started his life after graduating college, and one who is about to go off to college in August. And I will be an empty nester come the fall. So that'll be new.
Oh, fun. Well, and we've known each other virtual land for years, and we met for the first time a few months ago when I interviewed Matt. And by Matt, I mean, I had a conversation. I had another podcast when I interviewed you for Taste Buds with Deb, because you were working on So Help Me Todd.
Right.
And everything on that show felt like it centered around food. So it was a perfect opportunity. And it's sad, but I'm glad that you've replaced it with great opportunities that you can't talk about yet.
Yeah, no, it was such a great show to work on. Fantastic people, wonderful staff. And I was just with a bunch of them last night. It's sad that it's gone. It was a great show. It was a great working relationship. And I thought it was a terrific show. And that's what happens, is sometimes they just go away. But thankfully, I was able to move on to something new, especially in the industry right now, which is kind of tough. So very happy to be working.
Well, very happy for you. And it's almost like what we were saying just a moment ago with Joey. It's like one podcast went away, and it gives you the opportunity to run full speed ahead into something awesome and new. And I'd love to know what it is that you all are, because I said before we can make plans for the new year, it's so important to celebrate the new year, the other half of the year, to celebrate our accomplishments thus far, because that's where the motivation, comes in. We look at our wins, we celebrate them, and then we take that energy and run full speed ahead into cool new things. So, Doreen, what is your most exciting accomplishment from the first half of the year?
One is working with a startup SaaS B2B company, and literally getting them off the ground with no social media, and at the same time collaborating with the CEO for a docuseries documenting everything we're doing, which is really fun. So we're about 120 days in. We've done 4 episodes. The social media is going well. The business is growing. So that's been really fun. And then the Doreen from 2023, who had all these plans to apply to speaking engagements, is now celebrating. I have 2 big speaking gigs this fall. I'm going to be at Inbound, which is a big marketing conference in Boston. And then I'm going to be back in Boston at the B2B Forum for a second year. So all that work that I did before is paying off. I got accepted. So yeah, cool.
Yay. Big gold stars, and very exciting. And the other part that's great is you're doing client work, but you're also doing you work as well. Right. And especially when we're entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, writers, consultants, it's really easy to just do the things that are getting you paid now. It's really important to remember what you're building for yourself So how do you keep that balance?
It definitely is a wave, it goes up and down. There are times when I'm really, really busy with client work, and then my own social kind of gets put on the back burner, but I'm pretty good with deadlines. And so I do, take time on Friday afternoons to work on my own business and my own, what do I need to pay invoices or send out invoices? And, I have a podcast live show, and what do I need to do for all these pieces? And then I usually look at where can I speak, what's due. So I have that time at least once a week that I check in on that. And I think that's just, if you're not doing any of that, then your leads are going to dry up. That's what I've learned.
Great. Well, it's really important to like gift yourself the time for you to grow personally and professionally, not just the businessy stuff, which we also love, right?
Right.
And Jamie, you've got writer next to your name on like so many different things. How do you especially balance when everything is similar but not?
Everything has its own personality for me, and everything demands a certain part of my writing craft. And also, particularly for TV, you're most often writing in somebody else's voice. So there's a showrunner, there's a creator, and I'm on staff most of the time. I have written pilots, and I have, had these opportunities to do my own things, but primarily I'm writing in somebody else's voice. And so that's what you're accessing. For me, the screenplay was one of the first times in a long time that it was strictly mine. It wasn't based on IP. It wasn't based on somebody else's idea or somebody else's book. It was literally just from my own brain. And that was a joy to do, because it was, what would it be if it was just me? And so I think I'm not sure I'm answering your question, but the idea is that because I'm writing in somebody else's voice, that's what I'm keeping in my head. And then I have these opportunities every now and again to just be me.
It makes complete sense. and I'll ask you the same question. What was your biggest win in the first part of this year?
As I've gone through TV series work, I've hit every title on the rung, all the way up from staff writer. I've hit every one. And getting to executive producer was always a big goal of mine. It's a very hard title to achieve. And I just, with this new job, got the executive producer title. And it may seem sort of superficial, but it means a lot, first of all, to me, because it's an achievement that I've been longing for. But more than that, it says to the rest of the world that I work in, this is somebody that we trust at this level. And that was really what I was after, which is that there's an acknowledgement of leadership, of capability, of confidence, and all of those things. And so honestly, that meant a lot to me. And the other was, yes, getting the screenplay option, which is it's just another great piece of the pie that I wasn't expecting quite so soon. And I had been working on it, and it happened pretty quickly. So that's the other thing.
That's awesome. And I will respectfully disagree. I think the new title is awesome.
Thank you.
And I like it. I said before, we've known each other for years, even though we just met on face-to-face video a couple months ago, and I've gotten the opportunity to see all the things that you're doing in your building. So I would wear that new title very, very proudly, and I can't wait till you can actually say what it is.
I know, I really am excited, and I thought I might be able to today, but they're like, you know what, keep a lid on it. I was like, oh, okay. So I apologize, but that's where I am.
Well, we're happy for you, even if it has to be what is it? Vague booking? Isn't that what we call it on Facebook?
That's right.
Joey, what about you? I mean, I know you're doing lots of different things, but I couldn't possibly name any of them. So what was your biggest win so far this year?
Well, I like to kind of divvy it up between work and personal win-wise. So I would say for work, it was speaking with a client last year, a potential client in, I think it was in March or April of last year. And then earlier this month, getting them to finally agree to let's do some stuff together. It was an ongoing, keep pestering. And some of their feedback was like, yes, we're going to get this rolling. Like, I'll send over some things. And then when those things didn't come, was just kind of poking the bear a little bit and being like, pardon me. you are still interested. Yes. And I think that's happened a couple of times in my career where it's like over a year later when something finally gets going. And I'm sure, Jamie, you can attest to this too, of just like you're working on something and then it could be over a year until you actually see it come to fruition. And it's super cool for that. And then Dorien, you mentioned how you garden, and on a personal level, I'm actually making an attempt to garden and have some plants. I have a couple on, I can maybe try to do. Ignore the crummy floor, but we've got a couple of plants. We got Lawrence and Agatha up on the windowsill. And I have the most unruly tomato plant in the backyard, but it is just like if anyone has a good tomato sauce or some sort of pasta recipe that I can use a lot of those in, I will welcome it, because every time I go out there, I'm just like, I thought I picked all the ripe tomatoes, but there's more coming. So it's wonderful.
Are you not in My Taste Buds with Deb Facebook group yet?
I don't think so. I think I need to get in there ASAP.
That's just not okay. Okay, I'm going to put it in the comments, and if you go to thedebmethod.com/blog, you'll get the recap, the links, and including this one, and I will even put in the link to when I interviewed Jamie talking about TV and food, because, what's the point of having a show if you cannot put your own fun slant on things? And the patience thing, the hurry up and wait, and not even hurry up and wait, it's just wait. That's a big deal, I think, in any sort of writer, creative entrepreneur thing. Our timeline is so different than it feels like the person on the other side. How do you maintain that positive attitude when you're waiting for green lights?
Well, I actually just heard a great. I had a day of fun with my friend yesterday, which was going into a city like an hour away and just exploring it a little bit. And she said that someone had told her that, I'm probably going to butcher the quote that she said, but basically it was of the essence of nobody cares about you as much as you care about you. And I think that was a good, like, I've heard variants of that. I probably uttered variants of that too. And it's just a great reminder of like the thing that you're freaking out about is probably not, like, everyone else is probably not upset with you because of that. Like, there might be occasions where that's the case, but I think in most cases, if I'm like, oh, they're not responding because they're mad at me or because I did something wrong, it's just like, no, they also have their own lives and the things they're working on. And I think that's helpful to think in that perspective of just like, okay, I care a lot about this and they care about it too, but it's not as drastic as I'm making it. And I think that's been helpful for those sort of just like wait and see moments.
There's a saying. Oh, sorry, go.
Oh, I was going to say, Dorien's been nodding a lot, but if you want to go first, Jamie, that's fine.
No, I was just going to say there's a saying in Hollywood, or actually this is a good friend of mine said it when I first moved here, which is that everything in Hollywood takes 3 weeks, but the 3 weeks can be reset at any time. And I never found anything to be truer in this business. And it's just because you think everything is it'll be done within a month, and then it's another month, and then it's another month. But yeah, it's the idea that nobody is as urgent about it as you, Joey. I think that's absolutely the truth.
Right. And what I was going to add to that is you have to advocate for yourself. Just because, you're waiting and you think that it's on their plate, they might have moved on to the next project, but they really want to work with you. So, it's not more important to anybody but you. So then you have to go ahead and make that second or the third connection and ask, and just be patient and not be like freaking out about it. But you still need to be like, hey, I'm here every couple of months, just to remind them. I think that a lot of people shy away from that, but I think those who do that will end up winning the business. I had a 10-year lead once, 10 years. Somebody who started a business the same time as me. She moved somewhere, I moved somewhere. She followed me. I started my live show. I started my newsletter. And 6 months in, she responded to a newsletter and go, I think it's time we work together. 10 years we've known each other. So you never know, but you've got to wave at the people in order to be seen. So that's really great that you got that. I'm sure you are persistent.
What is, though, that rule of thumb? How do you be persistent without annoying the crap out of people?
Sometimes you have to annoy them. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that if you check in every week and keep pushing and asking, what's the status? What's the status? That would annoy. But if once a month you're like, hey, I'm thinking about you, I read this article, boom. Or, hey, I see it's your birthday, happy birthday. Or, hey, I'm working on this really cool project if you ever want to know anything about it. Or, hey, would you like to be on my podcast, right? There's other ways to connect with somebody who you want to do business with that doesn't involve saying, are you giving me the business yet? So I would just say the annoying part is when they keep coming back at you and saying, what's the status? What's the status? But a good way to do it is actually take that time to form a real networking connection and to get to know that person and what they do a little bit better and support them and see how you can support them. If they're going live, share or be attending, right? There's a lot of different ways you can be in front of them without saying, give me the business.
Really good point. Because social media is supposed to be social. I mean, it's right in the word, and people forget all the time, right?
Yeah, I would also add just be accurate about what you're saying to them too. Like I've gotten emails where they're just like, "Oh, like do you own your own jewelry business or so?" Or it's just something so out of left field. Like it's clearly just a mass email to a bunch of different people. And I I mean, I have definitely responded to mass emails before, but it's a lot rarer than if you take the time to personalize it.
Right.
Whenever I get an email asking me if I want to learn about someone's goal setting course, I just reply and say, that's what I do. Here's a link to my book if you're ever looking for speakers in that realm. But I'm sure I'm not alone in saying I get pitched the service that I offer with yes.
All the time. Could you use some marketing help, Doreen? I'm like, I'm a social media strategist. Sure, I can. You want to be my VA? I'm not going to outsource anything else, but it's silly. Yeah. People just, yeah.
And I think when people ask you like genuine questions or they reach out with things that make sense, then you're more likely anyway to want to get back to them or reconnect with them or what have you. Yes?
Right. 100%.
And in your world, Jamie, what does following up consist of?
It's tricky because sometimes you'll have general meetings with people and then they'll say, wow, if you ever have a project for us, let us know. And they all say the same thing. And sometimes what they mean is go find a book that you're excited about and do all the work and then bring it to us. And then we'll see if we want to get involved. And you're like, wait, I'm doing all of the legwork and what's your piece of this? But there are definitely partners that you meet. Sometimes you meet somebody in a general meeting and you're like, they have a book or they have a project and that they're about to start staffing it. And that's the thing that you just want to follow up with and be, after you have that during the meeting, obviously, but then after that meeting, I'm lucky because I'm an agent and manager so that they can follow up as well. But to send the thank you note, to occasionally ping them with something that you're working on that you're excited about, or some show that's about, you wrote the episode of the next, the thing, just to stay in conversation, I think with them is the right thing to do. But I definitely think it's tricky when because everybody wants the same sorts of, you're all sort of going after the same things. And so it's finding meaningful and honest ways of communicating rather than sort of trying to be mercenary about it and try to be just purely ambitious about it. So I think it's about developing relationships and conversations with people.
Because people can tell when you're authentic and they can tell if they're just a name on a list, right?
Yeah. And it's great if you've done the research of the stuff that they are either making or developing. You've read about them. In my business, you'll read about them on Deadline or Variety or any of the trades. And you'll be like, oh my God, I heard about this project. Will you tell me about it? Because people love to talk about what they're doing, even if that's not exactly the one that you think you want to be a part of. They may have other projects that like it that are a great match for you. And so once you get involved with them and they get to talk about what they're excited about and you get to talk about you're starting to build a foundation to get somewhere with them in the future.
So important, because the more you are, the more you can connect with people than if you're, and I know this conversation comes up, especially in sales and marketing conversations. Dorian's been on the show a few times, and I'm certain we've talked about, you don't say, hey, buy my stuff. You say, hey, nice to meet you. How can I help you? that's the best inroads into any sort of situation. And it's probably accurate in most fields, not just those. And I love that you've all had such wonderful professional wins. But life is a little bit more than the professional stuff, right? So, what is your most significant personal win so far this year? And what sort of personal goals are you setting for the second half of the year? Joey?
Did I jump the gun with my gardening and planting again? I'm sorry. So that, yes, keeping those alive, definitely
Keeping
a
the
big
plant
goal.
alive, great.
And COVID sort of obviously restricted travel for a while. And last year was my first international trip since COVID. And I said, I like this. I'd like to do more of that. And earlier this year, my family planned a trip to Singapore and Malaysia. And so let's count that as a good win as well, because I had to do no planning, but I got to enjoy all the wonderful elements of those countries. It was a lot of fun. It was great. The food, phenomenal. Highly recommend. A lot of great sculptures and artwork as well. So if you're willing to take a 16-hour flight, we flew out of LA. So brisk 16 hours, piece of cake. And so my secondary goal related to travel is to plan another international trip that either happens this year or early next year. So it'll be great. We'll send pictures once I know where it is, because I have to narrow down the options.
Awesome. And I love how your win is really propelling you to like the next goal of that category. So awesome. And Doreen?
Well, I've been having a vegetable garden for a couple of years, but I actually planted my first flower garden here in Vermont. We purchased an old ski house right before COVID hit, and it's basically built on like rocks. So anytime I've attempted to plant anything, I can't even dig a hole. So I finally created 9 raised beds in front of my house. It's a duplex, so it's really large, and flowers are blooming, and so it's wonderful. So that was a big one for me. I also had a personal goal of running through the winter in Vermont. My first running through the winter. I didn't ski this winter, and I thought this would be a good idea. That goal failed. Well, let me say it this way. I ran through the winter and then broke my leg. So next year, I'm not going to run through the winter. I had a stress fracture that I ran with for almost 2 months before I realized it. And so I haven't been running since April 1st. So now it's July 1st, and I'm really hoping that by August 1st I can run. But in the meantime, I'm doing some other things. So one of the things that we're doing is fixing up the other side of our duplex. And so I already know how to paint and how to do a lot of stuff, but now I'm refurbishing some furniture and just doing fun things like that to get the house ready to rent. So I'm just working with tools, my hands, doing fun things on the side. Really trying to enjoy summer in Vermont. It's super short. So when we have it, we have it. So that's what we're doing, being outside and doing things. And yeah.
Fun. And I know that you're outdoorsy, so the whole broken leg thing probably just drove you.
I went to the UK to speak, which was it was a professional thing, but I still enjoyed it. I went for 5 days in May, and my leg was in a cast. So I was just on stage in a cast, in the airplanes in a cast. It was not good. So I'm out of the cast, and I can do more things, and I can walk now. But I'm very careful because I just do not want it to break again. So I'm just being careful. But anyway, that was next winter. I'll ski or I'll do snowshoeing. No running on ice, and no breaking a leg. So crazy.
Lesson learned: no breaking a leg. Always a good goal.
Yes.
Was having a cast a good conversation starter though at the event?
It was, and you know what? I'm from the Netherlands, so I've traveled a lot to Europe with 1, 2, 3, and 4 kids by myself. I could tell you travel stories, airport stories, anything. Like if you ever have a travel podcast, get me on. Anyway, never had assistance. So I was like about a week before, I'm like, this cast isn't coming off. So I asked for assistance. I flew with Aer Lingus. And let me tell you, was like flawless. It was amazing. So they just put you in the wheelchair and just wheel you through, and before you know it, in 5 minutes you're at your gate every single time. So it was really amazing. The service was incredible. So it was, people on the plane didn't really see my cast, so it was black. I was wearing black pants. I didn't really want to put attention to what I was doing, but it was hard. I was in Birmingham, in the UK, and then we were walking to the speaker dinner every time I had to get in a cab. So it was kind of annoying at that point. So I did end up starting to walk with my cast, which probably wasn't a good idea, but I was just annoyed at it. But yeah, travel, that was the first time ever I've traveled injured. And in a way, it was a good experience. So yeah.
I love that you went on that little travel tangent, and we'll get to your personal win in a second, Jamie, because I have to ask the other two of you, what is that one topic that you could talk about ad nauseum that you love so much? For me, it's food. Obviously, food podcast, a reformed non-cook turned food podcaster. I have to love the food thing. But Jamie, what is the thing that people don't know about you necessarily off the bat that you just love ridiculously?
Musical theater.
That tracks.
I mean, I started as an actress. I started as a dancer way back, and I did a lot of musical theater, and then I taught it, and I choreographed it, and I did it all over the world. The thing that goes around the internet sometimes, it's like, what's one thing nobody knows about you? I choreographed a musical in Russian in Siberia in the 90s. So, wow. So yeah, there's one that you don't hear that often. But I do. I could talk and food, but really musical theater.
That's just amazing. I think at some point I should just do a musical theater GoalChat, because that's a topic that would never occur to me. That's a rabbit hole that would never occur to me. So I'm making a note. Let's do it at some point.
Here's the thing is there are many people that know more than I do about it, but I enjoy it so much. Like when I'm in my car, it's the Broadway channel and I'm singing and I'm all of the things. So,
But the joy stuff, that's what keeps us going when we're dealing with the stuff we have no control over, right?
It's the truth. Yeah.
Joey, what is your joy stuff?
I'm torn between either basketball or 60s music. So a little bit of both. My parents both grew up in the 60s, and so they had all kinds of music at home, and I grew up with like the Beach Boys and the Byrds and Bob Geldof and just all these different art. He's probably more 70s actually, but I credit them for whetting my appetite for the 60s. And then a lot of the times if I'm in the car, I'm listening to 60s on 6, which I'm sorry, has been rebranded to 60s Gold. I should get the name right. But that's been a great way to learn about a lot of new songs too. Especially there's a couple of hosts who seem to relish in playing deep cuts, and that's been a nice way to learn about even just artists that I missed growing up. And I got to put my childhood knowledge in college. We had an evolution of rock class, and our professor was the jazz instructor. And about 3 days before the class started, he learned he was going to be teaching this class too, because the actual instructor just like left out of nowhere. And so he said, I don't have a syllabus, so I'm just going to play you songs from like the 20s through the 80s, and we'll talk about them. Like he had toured with a lot of musicians too, so he was just telling us stories about like Robert Johnson and how blues started, and then we had like a Beatles and Rolling Stones section, and it was great. He's apparently a real hard ass in jazz. I had a friend who took him like as a jazz vocalist, and he's apparently real mean then, but he was great in our class.
I have an intro to do with, I have a friend who's got a podcast. It's either the entire album or this entire album that my friend Brian Fishback hosts, where you're listening to an album and talking about it. And I just you must be on his show. So I will make that connection.
Yes. I have album ideas. None of them are from the 60s, actually. I feel like I'm better with full albums from the 90s or 2000s, but songs from the 60s.
I am certain that's okay. And am I the only person who's completely bothered that the oldies station now has like music from the 80s and 90s?
You're not the only one.
You're not alone.
Okay.
Right, yeah. It's very upsetting.
Oh, good. I know. It's like, wait a second. No, oldies music is the 50s. What are you talking about? Anyway, and imagine someday the music now will be the oldies station. So what does that make? Music
Yeah.
from the 50s.
Yeah, it's true.
Ancient.
Yeah.
Ancient.
Mummified music.
Yes. Anyway, Jamie, what is your favorite personal win thus far this year, and what personal goals do you have set?
I my two children graduated. My oldest graduated from college, and my young one graduated from high school. That's really their win. I have to say, that's really their win. But I think I said in the beginning, I'm about to be an empty nester, and my husband, for the entirety of our marriage, has been on the road. He's gone 200 to 250 days out of the year. And that includes as the kids were growing up and all of these things. And so it's always been sort of complicated. And all the times when he's on the road and I want to go visit him, I couldn't really do it. And we always talked about once the kids went off, that maybe I would go see him and go where he is, because I can kind of, with a laptop and Zoom, it's much easier to work from other places. And so we drop our daughter off in the third week of August, and the fourth week of August, I'm going to see him in Chicago. So we literally were like, let's do it right now. So that, plus the same as Joey, to travel. I really have missed being able to sort of drop everything and go places, because I've sort of been the hands-on person in the family. And so, so I'm going to Chicago, and then hopefully other places as we go.
Awesome. And isn't it great, because we're still living in like a Zoom world, so you can do what you do from anywhere?
It is. And what's interesting is I don't really love a Zoom writer's room. There's something about being in person, about that creative exchange of energy, about being able to sort of talk over each other and leap in. And there really is. There's something about the chemistry of being in a room together. And I think it makes the work better. However, that said, Zoom is more efficient. Zoom allows you to get the rest of your life sort of in order in a much easier way, rather than, for me, I got to drive to Burbank. For 2 years, I was driving to Burbank, every day, which is a lot. And so that was 2 hours out of my day. I got back when we went on Zoom. And so it's that kind of thing where you're like, it's easier, but creatively, it's just not the same. So I have a love-hate relationship with being able to pick up and go.
I can see that, but isn't it awesome? Now you can travel, pick up and go, and
that part's great.
You can see people without seeing people.
Right.
I love it. First of all, the variety. And one of the things with my show is, unless it's on purpose, the guests don't know each other until they meet. So I love, especially for a party. And that's when I started doing the group. And I believe, Dorien, you were on my very first group panel. It was November 2020. And I was trying to figure out, how do you have a holiday party when you can't leave the house?
Yes.
You bring together a bunch of people who don't know each other. And that's what started my panel shows, which I think for a few months I did once a month. And then I said, oh, no, I like this more. So I became a complete panel show. What is, and Jamie already answered this, but, and I don't know if you're going to give the same answer or a different one, but what is something people don't normally know about you?
Well, something I'm passionate about is parenting. I was a nanny for 10 years before I had my own kids. I was a stay-at-home mom till my youngest started kindergarten. That's when I started my business. So growing up in the Netherlands and raising my kids in the US definitely was interesting. So I love talking about that, and hopefully in a couple of years I'll be a grandma, an Oma as we call it. That would be fun. But really what's shaped my life in the last 9 years, besides my business, is that I became an accidental vegan. And our 15-year-old daughter at the time was struggling with food and decided to become a vegan, and said, I bet you can't do it. I said, I don't even know what it is, so I bet you I can. So kind of that's how it got started, and kind of reshaped on how I shop, how I cook, how I garden, everything in my life, how I travel. I feel healthier, feel better. I started out doing it as a challenge. Then I saw within 6 months, 6 weeks. Saw physical improvement as a runner, as a, premenopausal woman. And then I've stuck with it because of animal and ethics and, environmental issues. So now I'm going on year 10, and that's really been, I grew up on meat and potatoes. And everything boiled, like think Irish food, that's Dutch food too. That's all I ate. I came to the US at age 18. I immigrated on my own. I'd never had pizza, had never had Thai, Indian food, didn't like spaghetti. Like I didn't like anything or eat anything. Now I eat tofu and salads and cook Thai food. And, it's been such a fun journey. And I don't really talk about it that much because I don't want to put that on anybody. I never say to people, I can't eat it. I always say to people, I choose not to. But it's really been fun as I travel to discover really cool vegan restaurants and new recipes. And so that's really kind of my passion. I don't think I'm the best cook, but I love it. So
I think, and this I can tell you for sure from my food show, is you don't have to be the best cook. You just have to be the one who loves what you're putting together and sharing for yourself and others. That's, I think, what the food thing is all about.
I think it's my love language for my family. I really think that's what that is. Yeah, I love providing.
Amazing. Joey, what is the thing people don't know about you?
That's a great question. I feel like I'm usually promoting my favorite things all the time. This could just be great shameless self-promotion here, but I am in a band, and I feel like I say that a lot online, and people are always still just like, "Oh, you play in a band?" And I was like, "Yes, we do." So we're called Burning Years. I play guitar and do smooth harmonizing vocals, and it's a great time. And then as a bonus, since I feel like that's kind of cheating because a lot of people like that come to our shows know I'm in a band, but this side, it's like backwards with my hand, but this painting over this shoulder, I drew it. It's got I can back away, but it's the skyline of Austin. And I did it on I think the app still exists. It was called Be Somebody. I don't know if it does still exist. The founder was on Shark Tank and had I think one of the most spectacular failures of anyone on Shark Tank. So it's a fun clip if you can find it. But the app itself was super cool. It's just like we went downtown and they were like, pick something out on the skyline that you want to paint, and I said, how about this whole thing? And I don't draw, I don't paint, but I think it's pretty good. It's a good skyline. And if you flip it upside down, it looks like a desert scene where it's like the red ground, like you're in Utah or something. Just beautiful red ground everywhere with the cool sky.
Ooh, multi-purpose. I like that. And it's something you enjoy doing because look at your energy when you start talking about it.
It's probably the best piece of artwork I've ever done outside of second grade. I did a copy of a Monet painting for a class, and the teachers raved about it. So those are your toss-ups, I think.
I really don't know how to respond to that one. So we're just going to move over to Jamie. Jamie, anything else you want to add about the hidden sides of you, or do we pretty much cover you?
I mean, I feel like you've pretty much covered me. I will say only because the Joey, your artwork, I'm having the same problem. So that, and where am I going? This is so hard. That piece right there were made for a play that I wrote, and they made him every night, and it sort of destroyed him every night. And so there were extras, and so I was like, I would like that very much. And so I have some artwork from things that I wrote that were, created for things that I wrote around the office, and those are really meaningful to me.
It's awesome.
It is awesome. It's great to have little reminders, those like spirit energizer, just things that you look at and you're like, wow, that's so cool. I did that, or it was part of something I created. Very motivating. And what I'd love to know right now is, because it is the happy mid-year party, and I'm going to ask, what is one goal that you are aspiring to achieve by the end of the year? Or as I like to say, what win are you planning to celebrate? Now, if you start the new year in December or January, I don't judge. You can actually celebrate both. But what is one big thing you want to accomplish by the end of the year? Dorien?
Get started on that book that I've been talking about for 5 years. I've got a title, I've got an outline. I'm actually taking a 6 weeks hiatus for my live show and podcast this summer. It's year 3. So, when Joey was talking about, 200 episode, I'm just past the 110, 115. I'm like, I just need a break. I'm not going to get rid of it, but I need a 6-week break. And so my plan is to, in the 6-week break, just to start writing. I know that once I start writing, I can do it. So get enough of it written so it looks like a book, and I will keep going. That's my goal.
I love it. Well, one of the other things I do is coach people on book proposals. So do you have the book proposal?
No. I'm just going to write the freaking book and self-publish. That's my goal.
It is a great goal, but just as someone who has sold books from book proposals, but also someone who's self-published, it is a great roadmap that's going to help you keep things organized and moving forward.
I actually bought a book on how to write a book proposal, so maybe I should start with that. I think it might have been on your recommendation. I don't know. I think I was on the show with you, and I was like, okay, I think I need to buy that, and I read it, and then I started with the outline. I think some of the pieces that I have in place are because of something either you said or you showed me or you sent me. But yeah, I just, life gets busy, and I think I just need to if I take an hour, 2 hour a day, that I can do it. So I know it will propel a lot of different things in my life. So
no, I think it's fabulous. I'm always on the little soapbox. Yeah, because everybody has something to say, something to articulate, something they want to get out in the world, which is amazing. I actually did a lunch and learn on how to write a book proposal for Women's National Book Association, San Francisco. So I will send you that replay to keep that little fire going and keep you exciting. So did not expect that tangent, but I'm always happy when I hear my friends writing books, because it's great to be able to put all what you love out on the page and out into the world, because there's nothing like it. Joey, she's written a book. What are you doing the rest of this year?
Well, my answer might also be writing a book. My sister and I, she's wanted to write a book for a while, and for some reason we've decided to write it together, which is, I would say, probably not the best way to write a book, but you know what, we're doing our best, and it's hopefully the first in a series of high schoolers who solve mysteries related to food. So we will certainly be on the podcast once it is out in the world, and we will promote it, and it'll be great. But since that feels like cheating to also say write a book, this is going to be an even more extreme tangent, I think. But today is Bobby Bonilla Day, which back in 2001, the New York Mets had a player named Bobby Bonilla, and they owed him about $6 million. But they were busy investing in Bernie Madoff pyramid schemes before they knew they were like the biggest Ponzi scheme in the world. So the owners were like, we don't want to pay you, like, you're old. We're just gonna, we don't want to give you this money that you're owed. So he and his agent were like, how about you defer it with interest? So you don't have to pay it now. You can throw it to Bernie Madoff, but then you'll start paying me in 2011. And they pay him every July 1st. Since 2011, they've paid him $1.2 million. And he'll get that all the way through 2035. When he's 72 years old, he'll have been retired for more than 3 decades from baseball, and he's still making money from the Mets. And so that is the basis for a goal of, I want to creatively negotiate a contract with someone. If they're like, we don't have the budget for this, I was like, well, what about we do some of it now and then more of it later?
And then $1.3 million a year from then on.
And please continue paying me for decades. Thank you. And surely someone will bite on that, right?
I think a goal of something as unspecific as but it's still a goal to get in a situation where something is growing, developing. Why not? This is the thing about goals. They can be whatever the heck we want them to be. We just have to look at the life we want and figure out a plan to make it a reality. So you can have both goals.
Thank you.
I will let you have that. Jamie, I it's almost like a trick question because I know you've got great stuff going on, but what is one of your goals for the rest of the year?
I do. I was thinking about this, and there are professional goals that I've got, which is, I'd like to write a play. Again, I haven't written a play in a few years because I've been so busy, but I'll tell you the truth. I really want to enjoy the extra time that I'm suddenly going to have. Being, and Dorien, you must know this, you have 4 children, being the hands-on parent and being the primary person in their lives, both, sort of the organizational person, but also the emotional person, it takes up a lot of space. And I was doing that while I was working, full-time jobs and sort of trying to build a career. And this space that I'm now going to be afforded is new. And I want to take it very slowly and not suddenly just fill it up. I want to be able to breathe, and I want to be able to think about how I want to fill it. And so honestly, my goal is to enjoy and sort of experiment in the middle of that time before I go, I'm just going to write a play and keep my head down again. So I don't know if that fits into the mold of what you were asking, but that's my goal.
No, it's a perfect goal. To play, to have fun, to explore.
Yeah,
is a wonderful goal.
To travel a little bit, to breathe, but mostly just to be in my house and think about. I always had this every now and then the kids and my husband would go away and have 3 days, and it was the only time when I ever had a chance to eat when I was hungry, or go to bed when I wanted to go to bed, or get up when I wanted to. It was just this. I was paying attention to my own rhythms and my own what do I actually want, as opposed to being in service of the rest of the house. And I was I think I want to do that a little bit. And see what that's
Can I just tell you, please do that and make that goal, because I was there a couple of years ago, but I've had a boomerang child come back.
Okay.
And so that freedom is gone.
Right.
I don't think, through mental health issues, I don't think he'll be able to move out permanently, maybe ever. But because of that, I had a little taste of that. And now our life has changed, just still perfectly fine. But it looks very different than what we intended it to look like in, post-retirement, post-children. So go and do that, because you don't know what's going to happen next year or whatever. So yes, go enjoy that and do that, very much so. And I hear you. It's one of the reasons why when people ask me, well, are you hiring people? Are you growing an agency? And I'm like, I am good. I'm here. This is what I can do. My goal is not to make $1 million. My goal is to live a life that I like and love. And so whatever that looks like for me, and it does not include working 80 hours a week and being in charge of 20 people making content, that would not bring me joy. So I love that you're doing that. Go take that time.
Thank you.
I'm going to asterisk co-sign and a highlight everything Dorien just said. And that's why a big reason why I do what I do. Everybody deserves to love, enjoy, feel fulfilled in some, if not all, of your life. Take the little things. It could be personal, it could be professional, but whatever it is that's going to make you feel the most you, do more of that. Because I guarantee when you do more of that, the rest of your life is going to be a lot smoother, happier, healthier. Anyway, this has been so much fun catching up with you all. Before we wrap, I would love for you all to gift a goal to the audience. So what is something that they could do today, tonight, to not even reboot themselves, but to just take a moment and see what's next and get on the right foot for the second half of the year. So, Dorien, what goal would you like to gift?
Reconnect with nature. Make it go outside every day. Even if it's 100 degrees and you live in Arizona, right? Go outside for at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. and go water your plants, or, go out at night after the sun goes down, before it's dark, go on a family bike ride, or go on a walk. I live in Vermont. If you're anywhere in the Northeast, this is the perfect time to go swim in the lakes, swim in the rivers, smell the flowers, go outside. It will help you reset what you're doing. It helps you reconnect with, your business life and your personal life, and just really, put down that phone, but go outside in nature, smell. There's so much stuff going on right now. Wherever you live, there's things growing and blooming, and, go sit outside, or walk outside, or go outside. That's the goal that I gift all of you.
I love that. And put down the phone, look around you, see what's there, because if you're looking down or over at a screen, you're going to miss so much else about what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
Awesome. Joey, goal?
Mine's going to be, it's going to sound like a product placement, because I've recently found this video from Bowflex on YouTube that's just a 5-minute stretch video. And I've started doing it before I go to bed, and it's just great. It helps me relax before my head hits the pillow. I'm not looking at a screen outside of that. So I guess I kind of am looking at a screen, but I do it outside of the bedroom, and then I keep my phone away. And the guy who is the instructor is named Tom Holland. He's not the actor, but that's a fun little quirk as well. And it's just great. It's a full body stretch from your head to your legs, and that's 5 minutes a day. And I'm sitting a ton during the day, so it's great I love getting up and going outside too, even though in Texas you are guaranteed to be sweating by the time you sit back at your desk, but we're all sweating, so it's okay. We're all doing this the best we can.
Will you send me the link so I could put in the recap?
Yes, I've got you. It'll be great. We can do
awesome.
a 5-minute exercise together.
Woo! Yippee! Okay. I meant that to sound more enthusiastic than it did. Yes. Well, my big thing is dancing for exercise. I love those 2-minute dance breaks, but that 5-minute stretch thing sounds like
great.
It's really helpful.
Can I give you another dance that I also recently discovered? Is the video game series Just Dance. They have a bunch of the dances on YouTube, and there's one for What Makes You Beautiful by One Direction, and it's the greatest. There's ideally you would have 3 other friends do it with you, because there's 4 dancers on the game, but it's just the greatest. And I tried to dance along with it a couple of times, and it's pretty good workouts.
Send it along. Awesome. Okay, Jamie, what goal do you want to gift?
I like yours better than mine. But I was going to say, whenever I'm stuck in a writing situation, I find a book or a movie or something that is the exact opposite of whatever I'm doing to sort of shake me out of it. Because I think some people will tell you, oh, if you're writing this, read something that's just like it, or watch something that's just like it. But I find the opposite to be true. If you're, read something you'd never read before, you would never choose, right? Read something that's the opposite of what you're doing, because it can really shake things loose. And also it exposes you to stuff, material, but also ideas and ways of writing and ways of thinking that you might not have had the opportunity to do. And it kind of just loosens things up. So that's my thing.
I love it. Do you have an example?
I hate science fiction. I shouldn't say hate. I don't, that's not my jam. So science fiction is not my jam. And I never, no one should hire me to work on it, because that's just not the way that my brain works. But I was working on some very character-driven, small, sort of fantastic thing. And I was hitting a wall, and I thought, well, I'll go find something completely different. And I picked up, against my better judgment, I was like, I'm going to pick up some science fiction. And it was so amazing, because I forget that within science fiction is philosophical ideas, is world building, is this creative imagination, all this stuff that goes into it, that even though it's not my taste, I'm like, wait, there's so much craft in here, and there's so much juice in it, that I really was able to step back and be like, okay, so these are some of the things that I'm missing in the work that I'm trying to do. And it was great. So that's my example.
That's awesome. Thank you. What a wonderful conversation. What a great fun party. Where can people learn more about each of you? Joey?
You can go to joeyheld.com, nice and easy. And one other shameless plug, I have a newsletter that's called Fun Fact Friday, where every Friday you get a fun fact and the story behind it in 2 minutes. It's real simple, real great.
Excellent. I love it. And Doreen, where can people learn more about you?
You can go to my website, morinmedia.com, but I'm most active on LinkedIn. So if you're listening, watching, want to connect with me, go to LinkedIn. Look, I think there's only one Doreen Morin-van, and she wears orange glasses. So you'll be sure it's me. And I'd love to connect with you and say you heard me on the GoalChat with Ted.
And in the recap, in addition to your website links, I always put the LinkedIn links as well. Did you notice LinkedIn is now limiting? You can only do 5 connection messages a month.
Yes, you can send more, but you can send more connection requests, but not the messages unless you pay. So yes, it's super annoying, but especially when I go to a conference, an event, and I want to connect with the speakers, or if I'm a speaker with the other speakers, I can only send 5 a month. That's really annoying.
I discovered it recently because it's one of the things I always say, find all of us, connect on LinkedIn, and
send a message so we know that you found us. Yeah,
exactly. But I guess now we'll just say connect with us, and if the timing is a Monday or a Thursday, we know it's because you watched us or listened to us. But don't hesitate to reach out to any or all of us, and then after we accept the request, say, hey, I heard you on this episode, or what have you. So reverse engineer it a little. But I always feel like LinkedIn is the best first place to connect with new people. But you know this, and people who listen or watch regularly, because again, you can't reach those goals on your own. Jamie,
yes, ma'am.
Where can people learn more about? Did you just spam me?
I didn't. I yes, ma'am. Everybody, don't take it personally.
Okay, I feel better.
I am jamiepachino.com. You can find me there. And if you want to look up stuff that I've worked on, you can go to IMDb and just type in my name. I'm the only Jamie Pachino.
Excellent. And I am at The Deb Method everywhere. And you can go to thedebmethod.com/blog for the recap, replay, and links that we talked about today. And if you need a little bit of a nudge towards your goals, you can grab a copy of your goal guide at your favorite place to buy books, or reach out and see how I can help you figure out what you want and make a plan to get it. Oh, so much fun. I love these parties. Well, I love this show. I love being able to catch up with my friends and let other people watch. What final thought do you want to leave people with today? Doreen, final thought?
Just be sure that the goals you set are your own and not somebody else's expectations.
Ooh, that's important, because a lot of people get hung up on what they think other people think their lives should be. Know what it is you want. Gift yourself the time to figure it out. Make a plan to turn it into reality.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Jamie, final thought?
I think if you're going to set a big goal, and I'm always an advocate of setting a big goal, make sure you understand what the bite-sized pieces are along the way. Like, don't be like, I can get from A to Z, but I can get from A to B. And I know what B, and then you can understand what B looks like and what C looks like. And that little by little, you can chip away to get there. But I am an advocate of big goals.
Of course, because if you're going to create the life you want, why not set those fun big goals that are going to get you to that ultimate destination? No, that sounded like a bad movie. I was going to say Ultimate Destination, but wasn't there a horror movie?
Final Destination.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So let me rephrase. Yes, it's your life. Set the big goals, break it down into parts, and do what you need to do to turn it into reality. Joey, final thought.
Final destination thought. That's actually the second time in 24 hours I've had a final destination conversation, so that's great. Mine is, I'm just going to echo my high school yearbook quote, which is, worrying is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but ultimately it gets you nowhere, which I believe that's an Albert Einstein quote, but I am going to pass it off as my own, and it's my advice to you.
That's a good one, but very true. I mean, and even if you're just taking bite-sized pieces, working towards your goals, 10, 15, 20 minutes a day, a few days a week, you're going to get somewhere if you keep that positive attitude and move forward to create that life you want. Thank you again, Doreen, Joey, Jamie, for joining me today. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Deborah Eckerling. I am live at 4 p.m. every Monday. I am live every Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific, with a bunch of friends to dive into this great topic of the week. You can subscribe on YouTube, and then you can also subscribe on iTunes and or your favorite podcast platform to GoalChat, which is on the Marketing Podcast Network. It's a great time to either start something new, continue something, and or celebrate all those joys and wins along the way. So a happy mid-year, my guests, and a happy mid-year to those of you who are tuning in. Go on out there, go for it, because we know you can do it.